Let's get you straight so that I can see you properly and hopefully you can see me. Good morning. Let's take those off for a minute. Oh gosh, it's warm here today. Really, really warm. We've been rushing around this morning trying to get this ready, and it's just been too hot. And then of course sat down and we've got all sorts of silly nonsense with technology this morning, which is always great fun, isn't it? So let's get on without more ado. I'm going to continue today with the project that I started previously for International Nature Journaling Week. And I started off with some bluebells. And as I was working it, I'm thinking to myself, oh, I've got plans for this, I've got ideas. And when that happens, it's always a good idea to just go with it, forget your original plan and just go with the flow and see what happens. If you're ready, let's turn everything round and we'll have a look at where we've started, and hopefully by the end of the session we'll have something decent and we can think about where we go from there. So I'm just going to flip the camera again, so hold on if you're of a sort of fragile disposition, and we'll come through to this and we'll have a look at what we've got here. Now start off quite high so that you can see what I'm talking about. We started last week with this painting of bluebells. If you remember, it was cling film. We used cling film on the bottom and the top and here in the middle in three very different ways, and then we used a credit card to come through here and put our tree in. We originally reserved that space with masking tape, so that's how we got the lovely clear white paper there originally. And then we've gone in and painted it, and with a credit card we've just come through, put paint on the edge and scraped it. So that was great fun. We've put this little animal in the middle here just to make it more interesting so that we have a bit of life in the painting. And now I've cut it in half. And my plan is that's stuck in, so that's all ready to go, that's fine. And it might be nice to maybe paint all around here in a green, just to kind of blend it in and give it a frame. And my intention is I've left that middle page and I'm going to stick this on this side here with this page in the middle. And the plan is this page in the middle, I've drawn around this like that so that I have exactly the space I need, and that's the way it's going to stay now. But I haven't stuck this on the other side because I don't know where it needs to go yet. What I'll do is I'll finish this, and then once I can see through it, I'll explain more later, I'll be able to know exactly where this has got to go, and I'll be able to position it and stick it in. My plan is to have a window with bluebells in it like this, as though you're looking through them at the scene. I'm looking for this kind of effect. Let me find where I've done this before further on in the book. So this was a painting that I'd created here, this summer scene, did this last year. And then I've taken this bamboo fretwork, painted it, and done exactly the same here. And this is what I want to do with the bluebells, this kind of idea. Now the most important thing, when you're planning something like this, give yourself a border because you need something to hold it all. Don't just draw the bluebells, paint them, cut them out, because then they'll all be flopping everywhere. But if you've got a border and a frame, it holds it. And if it is very thin, you can always on the back stick cardboard or thin card just to give it more rigidity. I'd also say to you, make sure that your bluebells have got touch points around the edges so that they hold. You don't want them sort of stopping in the middle of the page, because if they do, they'll flop. So what I've done is I've made sure that all of these bits and pieces touch the edges, and therefore we can see them. Morning, Rosie, and good morning, Sue. Lovely to see you online. Thank you for joining me. Now, let's get rid of that for now. And I want to turn this over so that I can get to it like this. And then I have my paints ready. We'll talk about those in a second. I want a cloth for mopping and dabbing, for my dab idea. Always got to have a dab. And now that I can see that in the screen, because bear in mind, I'm just a few seconds behind you, just a few seconds behind. I'm now going to try to bring the camera down somewhat so that you should be able to see more clearly. So again, just one moment whilst I make sure that I've got you all in shot and I can see you. Morning, Julie. Gosh, all the way from Australia. So it must be evening for you at the moment, I'm assuming. There you go. Just trying to make sure that you can see everything you need to see in that picture. I think that'll do it. I'll bring it down a little bit like that. I hope that will do us. Okay. It's all right. I'm just making sure. I'm about on the screen. You are watching me probably about 5 to 6 seconds behind me. So therefore I have to wait for that to catch up so that I know that I've got it right. Okay. Good morning, Louisa from Scotland. Oh, let's see who else we've got and where you come from. It's exciting. It's nice to know you're all there with me. Thank you for joining in. Okay. Where do we start? I'm going to start with my bluebells because they're the kind of fiddly bit. They're the bit that takes the time. Now, colours that I want to use here today, I'm using cobalt blue. And I want to use a little bit of alizarin crimson because that's going to give me the kind of purpley colour for these. Are these called the calyxes, the covers that cover the flower when they're in bud. And then I've got Prussian blue for my shadows and my shading. That's up here. And I have sap green, and I'm going to use this for the leaves because they've got beautiful colour leaves. And I want to make sure that I've got this really nice colour. Now I'm just going to tilt that a little bit more because I'm thinking that I still can't see the very top of my picture. Okay. Where do we start? Let's start with flowers, and I'm going to, I think, use a number 4 brush so that I've got plenty of control. So number 4, something that's like this. Okay. And we'll take this is our rather gorgeous cobalt blue. And I want that in its neat form in some places, but in others, I want to use it with the purpley tint. So that's just a bit of alizarin crimson, and I'm looking for this purple, and it's quite a dark purple in places. So we're talking about this kind of colour. You know, it's a dark hue, and the cobalt, for those who aren't au fait with it, is this colour here. So really rather good. And the first thing we need to do with it really is to come in and start. I'm going to start up the top so that I'm not leaning on my own work when I'm coming down the page. And I want to just bring in this lovely colour. Lay it in. Pull all the colour to one place like that. Wick the brush and then just pick up the drop. Now, why do we wick? Because if we wick, we don't land up cleaning, drying, and then if we come in, we leave a white mark. So just use that dirty brush, but just wick it. All right, so that's a really good tip. It works very well. Whilst that's still wet, I'm going to come down this side and just introduce some of my purple colour because I've got to have dark against light. This side's going to be light, so it has to be that way. And then I'm coming in here and I'm just going to tickle in the bottom of that petal. Leave that alone. This is wet. If we go near it, we're going to land up smudging and smearing. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be a good girl, leave it alone. Then I'm coming back in, and in here, this one is shaded by the leaf. So again, I want to use the purpley colour. I'm going to bring that down like that. And then in here, and this is going to be lighter, so I want to use the pale blue for that, because that's coming up into the light. I'm not being fussy about the edges, purely and simply because I know with the edges I'm going to go back in a little while. I'm going to cut it all out, so it doesn't matter. So in this instance, we don't need to be. I just want to pull a little bit of dark purple through there. Now, when you get that blossoming at the end where you lift the brush off, don't stress it. Just come in with the clean brush and push it back. Just push it back. I want to leave that alone for a minute because that's wet here. And if I go near it, I'm going to land up with a mess. So come somewhere else. Let's do this one. Let's really concentrate on this. Start off all over with pale blue. So bring it through, pull it through. I'm going to put it through the whole thing. That's my starting point. And then I have to work out which petals are behind which petals and which ones I want to darken and add shadow to. Picking up my purple, I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking this petal is behind this one. So I'm going to do that. At the tip here, they have little creases like that. And then when we've got things curling over like this is dark because it's gone back and over into shadow. So that would be darker there. This is another petal that's through here. So I'm just going to put a little crease of shadow through there. And then where this one folds and curls over, it would be dark as it goes up into the crease, like that. And then we'd have the light, that would be a bit darker down there, light shining here into dark as it folds back over. And we can rinse, dab, dab, and then you can come in. I'm going to say this just for Sue, because she knows the phrase and always says, why haven't I quoted it? You're going to nudge, budge, and smudge it. Like that. Nudge, budge, and smudge. This one, what do we do with this? Because that's curling up and it's coming towards us. Where does that go? Well, this one would have dark under here. So pop the dark colour in. We rinse, dab the drips off. You always come into the side that you're going to blend, like that. So you nudge, budge, and smudge it. And you just go in, and because it's small, you do a little zigzag motion, and you get this nice, nice feeling to it. Okay. So that's good. We've got that. Now then, this one here, we've got some strange stuff going on. We've got some folding over and curling over each other. What are we going to do about that? We're going to come in and again, look at the lights and the darks. I'm going to just come in now with a little bit of cobalt blue, thicker than this, on its own. And I want to just bring that up through here, like that. I'm going to bring it up through there. Leave this highlight here. And again, we come in and we nudge, budge, and smudge it, just like that. Okay. This here, we've got to work out what on earth is happening here. So we've got this one that's at the back, but that's probably coming up into light. So what I'm going to do is put that in the dark through here. Then we've got this coming up and up. So I want to put shadow in along there. And again, you can smudge it, nudge it, soften it, make it nice. I want to make it a little bit darker as it comes through here and it's touching the leaf. so the leaf is adding shadow. Come through, just pull it like that. Leave that one alone. Let's go back over here. How do we handle this? First thing you do always is put the light in. Put the light colour in first. So we come up and we add the light. Now, interestingly enough, on these little flowers, this is blue as well. The little stalk is blue too. So whilst I'm here, let's just run that through. And what you want to do with those is dark as it hits the flower and dark as it comes away from the stem. All right, and save it being blobby, rinse and dab, and then come into the side you want to blend. Always do that. Soften it, clean it. And then the same here, come into it, just dig, 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 gently, gently. Make sure you haven't got a dirty brush to go back and do the other side. Otherwise, all you're doing is just moving pigment around and making a mess. So we don't want to do that. Now with this flower, we've got to think about this. We've got dark, so that means here I want to put light. Light against dark, dark against light. Always, always, always. All right? It's the law with any kind of painting. Therefore, I want to come into this particular bluebell and I'm going to take my purple and I want to run this right up the middle, because if the petals are big enough, here's a petal here, if it's big enough, they often have this crease of colour straight up the middle like that. And I'm going to come into that and I'm going to blend it. Now this is the other stroke. You're going to come to it, you're going to say to it, hello paint, my name's Brush, and I'm going to stroke you. And you always, always come into the side that you're going to stroke. Do not go in and pull the paint around. Just go in and just stroke it. One brush line if you can. And it will give you this lovely, lovely, soft, soft blend. This is what we're looking for. The softness of it. Now on the other side of this petal here, because it's snug up against this leaf, that will also be dark, like that. And what I want to do with that is come in and again, from the side that you're going to blend, always just come in and stroke it. Look at that lovely blend that you can achieve that way. It's really, really worthwhile grappling with that technique and grabbing it, because it works a treat. I need to make some more purple is what I need to do. You always use more paint than you think, so be generous when you first mix up. Otherwise you're going to land up constantly mixing paint. It's something none of us are very good at, I have to say. Here I've got this petal. Oh, I've even got my own cat fur, look. That's Syrah, the white one. Now through here, I'm going to pull that up snug against there. And this will define this petal here. And I rinse, dab, dab, and I'm going to soften one side. And then I come in and I soften the other side. And if it's easier for you, just turn your work around. If it's easier for you to come in at a certain way, but look how we now have this definition and this, there's the light and dark, and we've got all these beautiful, beautiful tones on that flower, but nothing is hard. Where this petal comes out, I want to snuggle some dark around there just to make it stand out. And again, I go into the side I want to blend and I just nudge it. Same applies with this. This against this background, what we do here is we put the shadow on the bottom like that. And you see this line that we put down here, imagine it going down and under and back round. So that is going to do that. And this one is a nice little blend. Look, you're coming in there like that. And then on the other side, I want to come in here and blend that up through there. And again, just dry your brush and pick up that little blob of a drip. So that's a nice one. Happy with that one. This one here, we can add a little bit of darkness to the outer edge now. And I'm going to just put some little lines down there like that too. Let's deal with this one here. Start off, as I said, with a nice pale blue. Just fill the whole brush with the blue, come in and just fill the flower. And we're lucky today, funnily enough, because it's drying very quickly. It's hot here, which can be detrimental actually, because it gives you less time to play. But for today's argument, it's a really good one because it means that I can get on with it rather than faffing about, waiting for it to do something, and you having to hang around waiting for everything, all the action to happen. So with one like this, what do we do with that? We're going to start with the purpley colour. And I want to start up the top, and I'm just going to imagine that the little stalk is there. So dark on the top. And I'm going to pull some of these down like this. If they're too hard, just come in and you can soften. I would like to have some shadow around the back of this one. See what I mean about purple? I'm using lots of this purple. Let's make some up. Come on, stop faffing about, girl. Let's have some colour. There you go. Get rid of it because I'm not going to want that. The other thing is, of course, you can always work with two brushes. So you can put on with one and take off with the other. So that's doable too. So I want shadow in there. See if I can work that. So I'm keeping my colour on this brush. And here's a smaller brush. I'm going to use this one for the blending. Because A, it'll speed me up, and B, it also means that I'm not putting all my paint in my water pot. Because that's an issue, isn't it? Let's face it, we need to be, conserve our paint. I'm going to come into this petal here, and I'm going to make that dark down through there. Because that's shaded, it's behind this body. And then I also want to pull the stripe of colour along here. So again, get hold of it, pull it, dig into that, and then I'm going to pull that round like that. So we've got that shading. Now with this one, we're going to have to be clever because this means down here that we're going to have to make this either light or dark. Think about it, how we're going to play it. So I want to come in there. I'm going to add some shadow. This one's against this one. Oh, look at the colour. So what we do is we leave a slither of light. Just leave a slither of light, and it means that you'll be able to, your eye will understand that one piece is behind the other. So we do that, and then I want to come in here and I want to add shadow down here. So I could do exactly the same thing here as well. I could come through there and just leave a slither. So I'll do that first, like that. And then I've also got the crease of the petal. So whilst it's still damp, I'm going to come straight up there and introduce the crease of the petal. And again, just blend like that. And this piece, like this, where it's curling back up, you will have the shadow on the bottom of it, like that. And then there is the crease that we had down the middle of the petal to start with. So again, come in, get hold of it, soften, soften, soften. Don't like that blunt end, so let's get rid of it like that. So that gives us another. Now, that's all a bit sort of pale blue, isn't it? What we'll do is we'll come back to our cobalt, and I'm just going to use cobalt blue and swipe it up there and up through there, and immediately it looks more 3D and it gives it body. And that is glazing, everybody. That's laying one colour on top of another to make it look more interesting, more 3D. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this here. I'd like that to be a bit more, just a bit more. I don't know more what, but just a bit more. There you go. Okay, now with this little one here, I need to just add a teeny bit of dark on the bottom of that. So that, oh, you can hear the wood pigeon outside. And I'm also going to just put a slither. Imagine this is one petal here, and imagine that there's the crease and the shadow up the side of that particular flower. All right, so let's come down here now. Start off with our pale blue. So into that, through here, up, do a bit of that as well. And then this one, there's a petal underneath. Now it's interesting, isn't it? This paper is hot pressed, so it's flat, dead flat. Very good for botanical artists who use nice small brushes and who love the detail and the finesse of it. Well, for somebody like me, I do like a rough paper. And I find this quite difficult to paint on because when I lift off, I get these blobs, look. And you don't tend to get that quite as much with a rough paper. And I also find that I get a lot more brush marks. So I'm not used to it, not proficient and professional with this type of paper. And, you know, we all have the thing that we're good at. And this is the thing that I'm not necessarily good at. So that petal comes from in and underneath this one. Therefore, we go in and we gently, gently come in. Half the thing about watercolour is getting to know what you're good at and what you like to work on and what you're used to. And so, you know, it's well worthwhile playing and practicing with all sorts of different materials and papers. And I think, you know, most of my friends and students would agree with that, because something that I like, you wouldn't necessarily like to use. And that's fair enough. So yeah, I struggle with hot press paper, I have to confess. Not something I'm particularly good with. And yet I have a friend up the road, go and look her up. Her name's Cheryl Elaine Pape, P-A-P-E. And she's a botanical artist. Oh my goodness. Oh dear. Oh, some people have absolutely got it, haven't they? She's got it. I don't know what it is, but she's got it. And there's that crease. And we said that we wanted some darkness from up here on the bell. So quickly get in there and blend some of that before it reaches the stage where it can't be blended. As I say, on a day like today, that's more critical than it would be normally, to be honest with you. Now we've got the fold where this one folds back up. So we've got this lovely shape in there. So I want to get that in there. I notice I've gone back to one brush. So there, this one. Now, this is interesting because this comes down and it folds and it kicks back up. So what I'd like to do here is imagine where I have my light. So I'm going to make that darker, but not too much because I still want to see that light against the darkness here. So I'm going to start with that. And then looking at this petal's folding up and back round on itself. So therefore, I'm going to make that a little bit darker in there. And this is one of those blends where you come in and you dig it like that. You dig it, man. This one needs just a little bit like that. Here we've got the same issue. What do we do with this? This is going down. So probably it's going down into shadow. So do we imagine that we have reflected light on this, or is this the shaded side? What's going on here? How do we cope with this? Well, I'm going to start off by making this edge quite dark, and I'm going to put the crease up the petal there, as we've done in the past. Dig that and just blend that, and then just dig into that like that. What I can do with that to give myself some easement on it, instead of going in with the purple, I'm coming in now with the blue, with the cobalt, and I'm just going to give myself the third variation in the tonal values by coming through there with that, like that. So we're glazing again. We come back down and we push it back. Push it back. I could do the same there. So from here, where it's coming out of darkest shadow, coming through to that little puddle of light, I could indeed do that. And then I get this and I just push that back like that. So that's all doable, isn't it? Shall we do a little bit of that in here? So there's the darkest colour, there's the medium tone, and again we come in and we just tweak that. Here we've got dark, and this is all just light. So what happens if I put the medium tone in there? And this is the kind of balancing you need to do. Once you've got your darks and lights in, have a look again and then try and decide where you want to balance and add, and how you can improve it. See, I think that's really harsh and I don't like it very much, so I'm just going to come in and just do that, and it gives it easement, doesn't it? Just takes the pain away from it being, oh, look at that, it's in your face. Okay, so we have one last one here stuck over the side in the dark. So here we go, going to use the dark colour for the majority of this up top, like that. Going to really make this stand out on the edge. This is dark, we know. So again, I'm just going to soften that like that, and then come into this and I'm going to dig it like that, and then we're thinking about where we might have petals. So down through there maybe. And again, soften all of that. And then I'm going to come back. I'm going to go back in there again. I'm going to get hold of some of it and just pull some of it down. This is a dark little petal. The other thing you can do, of course, is come in with a dry brush and you can pull up lines too. So clean it, dry it, and then do this, and that will give you movement too. Now that's what we call a thirsty brush. And here I want that just to be this lovely darker blue. So that is just the cobalt on its own. I'm also going to bring the cobalt into this area here. And I'm softening that, and then I want to give myself this lovely little dark tip like this. And again, just dig into it, just carefully work your way around it so that you've got an idea. This is quite dark, this is the medium tone, so that there is going to be the dark tone. And again, come in and just soften like that. What is going on here, we ask ourselves, what's happening here? I would like to take the dark and I'm going to bring it around here, and I'm going to blend it, and then I want to take this is the cobalt blue, and I'm going to fill that because it's hiding, it's underneath this, so it's going to be quite dark, and then just put the tip in as the purple, rinse and dab. And then looking at this, don't like that at all, so I'm coming back with my cobalt blue and I want to just pull. I'm going to pull that up through. Oh, that's better, isn't it? I'm just going to blend it. I don't want it to cauliflower. Because the paint underneath is damp, I'm just going to blend it. That's it. That's nice. So you get this blue shine across the middle of the flower. So that works. Right, smaller brush, number 2. And what we'll do with this is come in with our purple and start thinking about where we have these lovely little calyx. I want to pull that through. Oh, this is going to be a pain in the neck, cutting these out. Oh dear. Oh. So through here, that is against this, so I'm going to make it dark. And why have you left that, Sharon? Because I'm going to take water, just get rid of the excess, and then if I come through just with the damp brush, I should land up with that lovely highlight. Okay, doesn't always work, but we can hope. So there's the dark, do it again. Here's the dark up through there. Rinse, dab, dab, and then just with a damp brush, pull the two together. Like that. And it gives you this lovely, lovely sort of... Oh, I've just seen a stem that I'd missed. There's one in there, look. Let's just add that. And we've got all the pigeons doing their thing out here. I've got the windows open because it's a warm day. Again, I'm just leaving a slither of light here. Just that against this, just leaving a slither. Because the colours are so similar, it worries me that we'll lose the definition. So again, just pulling that through like that. I hope you're all right out there, are you? Sitting there. I hope you're drinking coffee too. Have one for me. I've got to bring one in. Oh dear. What an umpty. So down through here. I hope some of you have had a little go at some journaling whilst we've been doing all of this, because it really is fun. I've loved doing it. Now look at this here. This is really critical. Because this is dark, I can't bring this dark through. I can't. So I'm going to have to just use the water and pull it so that it's there, but not too. Maybe add a little bit of blue to that. But I cannot make that dark down there because you won't see it. Light against dark, dark against light. The stems on bluebells are the funniest colour. They're a sort of greeny purple. And the best way to go about that, to be honest with you, is to take the purple colour that we've used for the bluebells. So let's make some more up, because I've got just 2 stems here effectively. And we make up the purple like that. And we've got the sap green in the palette. So let me just empty my brush a bit. I don't want it quite as clagged up with paint. I have the purple on my brush, and now I'm going to go into the green so that I have both colours on the brush at once at the same time. And I'm going to use this to pull right through. And if the colour bleeds, don't worry about the edges. We're going to cut it, so we're not going to see all that. Doesn't matter. You can trim it all up. What does matter is that you get this nice and sharp against the flowers themselves. So out of interest, that there has turned quite purple, and against the blue, it's not going to work, is it? So I've got to just pick up a bit more green. I've got all these colours on the brush together. So down through there, nip round there, right. And the best way to do that is to lay the brush down like that and pull it to get a straight line. You're using the side of the brush. Again, it's gone quite purple, so I'm going to come in, just a teeny bit of water, a little bit more paint, because I've got this length to do, and then a bit of the green on the other side. So I've got all of those colours on my paintbrush together. And I need a new brush. Can you see how I've worn that tip? I hope you can see the chamfered edge on that and one long hair, I need a new brush. Can you see that? I think, unfortunately, I've come too close to the camera. Is that better against the white? Can you see the tip of the brush? How it's got strange... Look at that. Won't do, you know. So I'm going to come in there, make sure that's nice and smart. Down. Pull it. And then I'm going to just finish off, and I want to make sure that this edge is smart against the border as well. We've got the drips, so again, wick it, and then just come in and lift that drip. And that's really quite cool, isn't it? Because you've got this sort of blue, green, green, blue, greeny, blue, bluey, green thing going on the whole way down here. Exciting. It's nice. Interesting to look at. So again, I'm going to pick up a little bit of purple, a little bit of green, and I've just got to wing it through there. Like that. Okay. One more stem to do, and I notice that I've been a bright spark, and here it comes. If you're never sure about the trajectory, it's easy. Just take a ruler down the side of your stem like that. That gives you that side, and then if I come here, that gives me the other side. Just like that. Not like that, like that. Okay. Pencil away, and then I'm going to clean my brush, because if I go in, it'll just become dirty now if I've got colour on it. So clean my brush, pick up my purpley colour, pick up some green on the other side of the brush, and then we'll start here. That's quite green, so I'm just dipping into the purple again. And this is entirely up to you which way you travel, how you feel most comfortable. But you see how you get quite a nice, easy movement through by doing that. Bit more colour. So that's a bit greener, so I've had to just come along that stem a little bit to introduce it. Down, round, 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 down to there. Nice, happy with that. Now, choices with the leaves, fantastic choices with this. I'm going to use my poor old number, this is in a bad way, isn't it? My number 4, let's put those away for now. And I want a nice pointy, new, sharp number 8. So this looks like that. That's my number 8. And the intention is, this one is for all the dodgy, difficult edges and the little pointy bits here. And then this will continue for me with the rest of it. All right. I want to use, this is my sap green. I've got choices here. I quite like the leaves with this purple in. I'd found out Prussian blue to use, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe I won't. Now, that's sap green, and into that I'm going to add some of my purple. And I'm just going to add it into half of it. And no, I didn't wash my brush, because now I can use it like that, and it gives me an even darker purple to use as well. So I've got 3 different options now. I've got the dark purple where I've mixed it into the purple. I've brought the purple across so that I've got it into some of the green. And then I also have just the green on its own. And we're looking at paint. We're going to want this to be probably full cream milk to semi-skimmed. Does that sound balmy? But it works. I want to start on the left-hand side so that I'm not in trouble trying to lean on my own work. And that's the edge I wanted to get straight and lovely. Here's my big number 8. And with my number 8, I'm going to pick up some of this purpley colour on one side of the brush. On the other side of the brush, I'm going into the light green and the darker green. And I'm picking up that. and I'm going to run it through like that. And then I shall pull it through on this side like this. Not worried about brush marks because they will just give the impression of the creases in the veins in the leaf. And then with the small brush, I want to come back into there. And then I can just pull a few veins up into the leaf. And that's enough. That will do. And that's called double or even triple or quadruple loading, so that you have all of those colours on the brush at once at the same time. And it can give you some fabulous effects. Fabulous effects. So I'm going to go back to my purpley green, clean the brush, because that won't work again with a dirty brush. You have to clean it and reload. I'll tell you what I do need though, is again some more of this purple. So I'm going back to that. So that's my purpley colour. And then I want some more green into that. So that it gives me a really dark gooey brown, browny green. Bit more water because that's too thick. So I have my purple on my brush, and then I'm going to come through here and I'm lifting in the sap green, and that's the pale green. And if you wanted to, you can even come into the cobalt. Let's try it. So I've got 3 colours on that brush now, and I want to just start off here at the top so that I can get that nice trim edge. But if you can't, there are ways around that as well, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. Oh, that's interesting with the blue in it. So make the most of your first sweep. Come back to offer up your second sweep like that. And then I want to just smarten up the base of this. And that one worked particularly well because just through sheer coincidence, I managed to get the darker colour up through the centre of the leaf, and that looks just like a vein. So yippee, all right, yippee. This bit here is going to be a tricky little bit. We've got to confess to that, because trying to do it with a big brush and get it neat is going to be the devil's own job. So there's the dark, there's the light green, and I want to just come in and get that bottom edge in, and I want to just make sure I've got that there. And I don't know if this is going to work at all. Might make a mess. Bring the colour up into the corner, wick the brush, and then use the brush as a mop for the colour. And again. Now I need to go back into that in a minute because I'm going to have to make that darker under there because it isn't going to show up. There's no way that's going to show up. So I'm going to have to just leave that for a minute and deal with it in a second. In the meantime, let's do this bit here. There's my darker colour, and then I'm picking up the dark and then some of the bright green, and I want some of that blue as well. I like that. So I just want to make sure that's neat, and then lay the brush nice and flat on the paper and pull it through, round, round, round to here. And again through there. And I've got enough paint there that I think, and the brush is finely pointed enough that I can do that and get away with it. So if I rinse, just going to come in there and soak up some of that, like that. Okay, I don't want to touch that at the moment because this is all wet and it can give me grief, so leave it be. What we can do is take a smaller brush, dark green, bit of light green, and I can come in here. I didn't see the dark green on that one, never mind. Don't win every time, you know. So that's that. And then up the top here, I'm going to have to do these with the smaller brush as well. So again, I want to make sure I've got the pale green on the brush, and then I'm going into the blue this time, and let's see what I can do with this. And just be aware with this technique, the more you fiddle with it, the more you mix the colour on the paper. So it's a good idea just to try and steer clear of too many brush strokes. So I managed to achieve the paler edge there, which is fine, that suits me. So leave that be for now. And then this one here, again, think about it. What are we doing? We're putting dark colour on the brush and then turning it over. I want a bit of the light colour on the brush, and then on the other edge, so that's that side and that side, and then on this edge I'm just coming in and nipping in a bit of the blue. So let's see what we can do with that. Oh yes, look. Oh yes. Oh, don't you love it when a plan comes together? Oh man, look at that. And that's the joy of it, because you never know what it's gonna do. So we've got a lovely stripe of blue through there, and then the rest is green, and it's different and it's exciting. Now, this I'm wary of because this is still a bit damp and it will bleed and run. So 2 seconds, just 2 seconds. We do have to do this every now and again, noisy as it is, but 2 minutes. Bit on there. Just to make sure. Just to make sure, because it's going to look absolutely stupid if the leaf, if it runs into it, if one leaf runs into another. So there is my sludgy green. I'm going to add a bit more of the red and a bit more of the blue, because I want that really dark under here. This leaf is under this leaf and behind this border. So therefore, I want that really dark. So come in. Like that. Okay, and then whilst I'm here, I'm also going to redefine that edge like that and introduce a darker shadow down there. Rinse, dab, dab. And this one is another one where I want to come in and just do that. I'm also going to do that on this side here and give that a darker shadow under there. And again, we're going to come in and we're just going to zigzag like that. Now we've got to do this. I know I want dark up under there, so I'm going to have my real dark colour on the small brush, and then I'm taking dark, light green, and then I'm turning round and I'm having a little bit of the blue. And this time I know I want this to be dark in here. So let's just get that in right now so that it's sorted. And then here's my brush. I'm going to come in and lay in that through there. Ooh, that's nice. Nice bit of bright green there. And then pull that back up there to there. And I just want to get rid of some of those drips. And the reason for that is because they were cauliflower. And before you know where you're at, you get these really nasty cauliflowers. So we don't want to do that. So as things stand at the moment, we have our picture. Okay. I want to now deal with that so that it is see-through. And that isn't as difficult as it sounds. It really isn't. I want to just make sure that I'm all right with it. So again, sorry, 2 seconds. What did we do before hair drying? I used to have another cup of tea. It used to be a wash with tea. Now, okay. What we've got to do now is be sensible. We can't go straight into that, of course, can we, with a scalpel, because we're going to cut everything that's underneath. So the best thing, very best thing you can do now is find a piece of cardboard. And pop that, I'm using my cutting mat, And I'm going to pop that under there. Nice sharp scalpel, so I'm using one of these fine point scalpels so that I can really get into the nooks and crannies. And this is where I was saying to you, you can sharpen up all your edges. So I can come through here and I can cut. And I'm absolutely convinced that some of you will have some amazing craft tools to do this, because I've seen some incredible cutters in my time. So, you know, and then we can just lift that out like so. It's the corners that always catch you out. It's always the corners. So we can do that. I can paint that to smarten it up, or I can cut it again. Either way, it doesn't matter. So if I was to come in and just chop some more out, because I've got a bit of a white edge there at the moment, so I can just come through, zing it through like that, and that gives me a decent edge like that. So there's that, and then I'm going to pull this through here like that. Now you see, I know I didn't go down to the edge. I know I didn't. Oop. And then I want to come up through and round here like that, and down. Oh, I've gone off the line, so just make sure I'm with my stem. And then up here through like that. See what I said? It's always the corners. It's always the corners. There you go. And what we're aiming to do, and this is going to be a right fiddle, I have to do it all piecemeal. Don't stress it. Do what you can do. So I could come down there, starters. And then I could do that line. And if it's difficult for you, just cut diagonally across the space. It doesn't matter. So if that's difficult, come across from there and then cut it round like that into there. Then bring that, if it's easier, straight down to there. It'll sort itself out. When you cut through this line, of course, that will all become clear. Oh, who didn't do that bit round there then? Keep your fingers out of the way, of course. I'm only telling you because I've got a husband who's very good at, if he can get his fingers in the way and hurt himself while he's DIYing, trust me he will. So there you go. Right, so what you're going to land up with is this lovely, lovely, intricate fretwork of bluebells. All right, so just think about that and how that handles and what you could do with it. We will then be able to take our picture and put it behind, and lo and behold, you will have a scene behind your bluebells when you lift them. Now the other side, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but you've done one lot, and now this is going to give you the chance to actually, once you've got it cut out, you'll see exactly what you've got, and you will then have to paint the other side. Isn't that going to be fun? You'll be swearing at me, but it's all good practice. All right, it's all good practice. And if you have problems with the flowers, and oh my word, how did that work? All you've got to do is trace your flowers. You could do this first before you cut out. Trace your flowers, and then when you've got them the other side, offer up the tracing, and you will see then you'll be able to trace off the petals and how the petals work to make life easier, so you don't have to guess it. And I'm thinking to myself that what I'd probably like to do with this is put a border around the whole thing, and it would probably be quite nice to just gently paint the whole of the area in the pale blue with cobalt, but that's going to be difficult trying to get a lovely smooth finish, I confess. Therefore, why not just do a small border around the edge of it? How do you get straight lines? Again, easy. Just take a ruler and take a marker pen. So you can use something like this, and you can draw a permanent line, which you can then paint within the line, couldn't you? This isn't going anywhere because it's permanent. You could use marker pens and you could actually do your border with a marker pen. That would be nice. That would work. So again, get the old blue marker pen out. You know, lots and lots of different ideas. You could even, if you wanted to, go around it with gold or silver paint, and that would be pretty too. And this is one of the reasons why, again, not terribly stressed about this, because I know that I can come around that border and I can edge it with a good marker pen, and it would give me a good edge. So all around there, as you can imagine, if I was to trot around that edge with a black pen, it gives me a good border for these to be on. All right, so I'd love to see anything that you produce, please. I'd love to see it, and you could pop it. This is going to go up onto my YouTube page, and you could pop it in the comments. You could put a picture in. I'd love to see it. But for now, I'm just going to move you around again. Sorry, you're going to go for a swizzle. Please don't leave me quite yet. I'm just going to pull you down and round so that I can see you and talk to you. There you go. I just wanted to say thank you so very much for joining me. I always love Nature Journaling Week. Tractor, excuse me. I always love Nature Journaling Week because it makes me look, and the prompts that they offer up every year are helpful, because it gives us something to think about. I mean, this particular picture covered so many things, from smell, you know, the scents of the bluebells on a hot summer's evening, right through to colour, to shape, to form. It could be anything. And interpreting it is half the fun, to imagine how you can twist, if you like, the prompts every day to suit yourself. A friend recommended it to me originally and I took it up and I've loved it. But it doesn't mean that you can't journal the rest of the time. So get your bits and pieces together. I keep a little pack in the car so that if I'm stuck and I'm bored somewhere waiting for something, it doesn't stop me from just pulling my little bit out of the... I keep it in the pocket in the back of the seat. And you need something small, and it means that you've got something always that you can sit and work from and not be bored if you don't have a book or your phone on you. And the biggest thing is, look, one of my students said to me last week when we were painting this little landscape, and she said to me, I've got no idea how clouds work and what they look like. I'll have to go out and see. And I think that's sad. So if we're artists, we should be looking all of the time, looking, observing, absorbing, and thinking about how we can interpret it and the colours we'd use. So for now, I just want to say thank you very much for joining me. This will go up on my YouTube channel. As I say, please leave comments. I'd love to hear what you've got to say, and I'd love to see what you're painting. But you're all stars for being with me, and thank you so much for making it such an enjoyable week once again. All right, everybody. Bye-bye for now. Bye.